James Cagney, the king of Hollywood gangsters, spent the final years of his life quietly haunted by a single regret. It wasn't a role he'd played, a feud he'd fought, or a scandal he'd survived. It was a man. A man Cagney believed he had pulled out of one war and unknowingly pushed into another. That man was Audie Murphy. To the public, Murphy was America's golden boy, the baby-faced war hero with blonde hair, blue eyes, and a smile that looked carved from magazine covers. But Cagney saw something most people never noticed. Behind that clean-cut image lived a restless, fractured soul that never truly came home from World War II. Cagney later admitted that the moment he first saw Audie Murphy's face on the cover of Life magazine in 1945, something inside him shifted. The article praised Murphy as the most decorated American soldier of the war, detailing impossible feats, entire enemy units wiped out, tanks destroyed, fearless acts under relentless fire. Yet the photo told a different story. Murphy looked young, almost fragile. Too young to have seen what the article described. Cagney felt a mix of admiration and guilt. Here was a man who had given everything, now dropped back into civilian life with no roadmap forward. Acting on instinct, Cagney reached out and invited Murphy to Hollywood, believing he could protect him, guide him, maybe even save him. When Audie Murphy arrived in Los Angeles, Cagney was stunned. This wasn't the hardened warrior he'd imagined. Standing before him was a thin, exhausted young man who looked more like a teenager than a battlefield legend. His uniform hung loosely on his frame. There were no visible scars, no bravado, no swagger. Just quiet eyes carrying invisible weight. Cagney brought Murphy straight to his estate, gave him a guest house, and promised himself he would make up for what the world had taken from him too early. At first, everything seemed peaceful. But it didn't take long for cracks to show. Cagney was a master at reading people, and something about Murphy unsettled him deeply. It was the eyes. When Murphy smiled, the expression never reached them. They stayed cold, distant, alert, like a man forever bracing for impact. Murphy never sat with his back to a door. He always chose corners, shadows, vantage points. Sudden noises made his muscles lock instantly, one hand drifting toward his waist before he even realized it. This wasn't fear. It was instinct, a survival mode that never switched off. The truth hit Cagney hard one violent stormy night. Thunder cracked over the Hollywood hills, shaking the property. Worried Murphy might be unsettled, Cagney walked to the guest house. The door was slightly open. Inside, Murphy lay on the bed, apparently asleep. The moment Cagney's shadow crossed the room, Murphy exploded into motion. In a flash, he was upright, a German Luger pistol aimed directly between Cagney's eyes. There was no hesitation, no confusion, just a soldier responding to a threat. Cagney screamed his name in pure terror. The spell broke instantly. Murphy's face collapsed into horror as reality returned. His hands shook violently as he lowered the gun, apologizing in broken breaths, saying he thought the Germans were coming. The pistol lay on the bed, fully loaded, no safety engaged. That image burned into Cagney's mind. That night, alone with a stiff drink and shaking hands, he realized the war had never ended for Audie Murphy. He hadn't rescued a hero. He had brought the battlefield into Hollywood. Hollywood, Cagney understood too late, was not a place built for healing. It was built to consume. And instead of calming Murphy's demons, the cameras awakened them. Still, Cagney convinced himself there was one thing he could do: channel that darkness. If Murphy couldn't escape his instincts, maybe they could be turned into something valuable, something safe. Acting lessons began in Cagney's backyard. Murphy struggled at first. He didn't know how to fake emotions because his entire life had been about real ones. Fear, violence, survival. But when the cameras rolled, something clicked. Murphy wasn't acting. He was reliving. His stillness, his cold stare, the razor-fast way he moved, it was all muscle memory. Audiences were captivated. Critics praised his realism. Hollywood found a new kind of hero. Quiet, haunted, dangerous. When Murphy played himself on screen, reliving his own war story, the country erupted. He became one of the biggest stars of the 1950s. Money, fame, ranches, cars, it all came fast. On the surface, he had everything. But Cagney saw the truth. Success didn't heal Murphy. It gave him a better mask. When filming ended and the noise stopped, Murphy felt trapped by silence. Peace felt suffocating. Without danger, his mind turned inward. To fill the void, he chased adrenaline elsewhere. Racetracks, casinos, high-stakes gambling. He bet recklessly, losing massive sums without emotion. He wasn't chasing money. He was chasing suspense. That moment between win and loss. The same feeling he'd known on the battlefield. One night near a racetrack, a confrontation revealed how close Murphy still lived to violence. A larger man mocked him, questioning whether he was really a killer or just an actor. Murphy's expression went blank. What followed was fast, controlled, and terrifying. No rage. No chaos. In seconds, the man was on the floor. Witnesses were shaken, not by the fight, but by Murphy's calm afterward. When Cagney heard, he used his influence to keep it quiet, but fear settled deep inside him. Murphy wasn't healing. He was unraveling. By the late 1960s, Murphy's career faded. His fortune vanished through gambling and bad investments. Desperate, he borrowed from dangerous people. During their final meetings, Cagney barely recognized him. Murphy sat with his back to walls, eyes tracking every movement, living in paranoia. He spoke of threatening phone calls, strange cars, unseen watchers. He admitted he was in too deep. One day, he handed Cagney a crumpled list of mob names and asked him to give it to police if anything happened. On May 28, 1971, Murphy boarded a small private plane in bad weather. He appeared calm. Too calm. The aircraft vanished into fog over the Blue Ridge Mountains and slammed into Brush Mountain. Everyone on board died instantly. Authorities ruled it an accident. Case closed. But Cagney never believed it was that simple. Too many debts. Too many enemies. Too many unanswered questions. Audie Murphy was buried at Arlington with full honors. The ceremony was perfect. But Cagney knew the truth. The man in that grave wasn't a movie star or a gambler. He was a soldier who never came home. The war didn't end for Audie Murphy in 1945. It ended on a fog-covered mountain in 1971. And Cagney carried the lesson to his grave. Sometimes surviving the war costs more than dying in it. If you love uncovering the hidden stories behind classic Hollywood legends, subscribe to Classic Hollywood Feuds.